Hi, welcome. Now I am going to show you how to create a pivot table with data self-contained. Okay, self-contained pivot table. Okay, so what I am going to do is I have the data here about product records, about 277 records. Okay, so this records each record is attached to customer, category, country and the sales. Okay, so I have about 277 records, and with this source data I am going to create a pivot table. Okay, I selected the data. What I am going to do is I am going to have the pivot table. Insert pivot table, then it already given me the selected range for my source data. Okay, that is fine. I want to create it in a new worksheet. That is also fine. I just press OK. Okay, now what happens here is that it is giving two things here. One is the pivot table area, okay, where the pivot table is going to be. Okay, and the other one is the pivot tables field list. Okay, what I am going to select. Okay, what I am going to do is I do the product, customers. Okay, then I have the sales, and for January, and the sales for February and March. Okay, I don't have April now. Okay, and the category, for example, in column wise. Okay, so this is what my overall pivot table. Okay, probably this one I collapse okay, for the entire field so that you will know. Okay, so this is my this one also I collapse it for category. This is for products and customer. And this is category. Okay, so for each category and sales, sum of sales in January and all, and I also have the category, so I just collapse that one also. Collapse. Okay, okay, old and categories of new and old. Okay, okay, now what I have is that for this is my pivot table, and I just close this one. You can see the full range of values are there, everything is there. Okay, now this pivot table I created already. So okay, now what I am going to do, I delete the source data. Okay, I am going to delete the source data. Okay, I am deleting the source data now. Microsoft Excel will permanently delete this sheet. Do you want to continue? Yes, delete. Okay, I deleted the pivot table source data. Now I save it, then I close the worksheet. Okay, now I will go and open the same workbook now. Open, which is pivot self. Okay, now you can see the pivot table still remains. Okay, that means I will go and open it. I can still see the customer, everything, and the new and old values are here, categories there, and everything is there. Okay, so this data, even though you deleted the pivot table's source data and you close the worksheet and open it, still the data remains. Okay, so now if I want to do some other thing, I have only up to March. I want to include April. Let's see, it is coming. Right click, show field sheet, list, April. I include it here. It's including. Okay, April is also included. Then okay, I just put a filter on country, row report filter. Let's see. Report filter is also there. Select only one country, Australia, it changes. Okay, so that means this pivot table is a self-contained pivot table because there is no more source data. Okay, but how come it is working if the source data is not there? That is the thing. Whenever you create a pivot table, actually Excel creates a snapshot of data with the pivot table itself. Okay, so what happens is that cache is inbuilt already with the pivot table. So when you delete the pivot table's data, okay, still the pivot table can function. Okay, as long as you don't need the pivot table data, you can pivot table source data, you can delete it. Okay, it will helps you to keep the file smaller in size. For example, if you have a lot of pivot tables source data in different sheets, 10 sheets, then again you are creating 10 more pivot tables, then the Excel workbook is going to be very big. So you just keep your source data and copy of workbook, all the source data. Then in another workbook, when you create a pivot tables, once you create the pivot tables, you simply just delete the source data. Okay, keep the copy in some other workbook, and that this workbook you just keep only the different pivot tables. Okay, this will help you to keep the size of the workbook smaller and also do your calculations. It will take a minimum time, and also opening and also the functionality is faster. Okay, so this cache is already is a copy of the source data. Okay, but only thing is you cannot refresh. For example, you want to refresh. Let's see what is happening. You can see the operation connects to an external data source. Okay, because this source data is not no more available now. The data is no more there, so it treats this one as a external source. Okay, this pivot table is from the external source file, but the external source file is no more there. Okay, so you cannot refresh. The data is the snapshot of that time when you made the pivot table, but you cannot get the current status of the pivot table's source data. Okay, the source data is changed now, then you cannot refresh and update the pivot table. If this is okay for you and you want to analyze only at that time the snapshot when you make the pivot table, you no need to consider the again and again you are not going to refresh, then you can simply delete the source data. Delete the source data means you keep the copy of source data in some other worksheet or workbook, but delete in the operational workbook where you are doing the pivot tables. Okay, so this is the concept of self-contained pivot tables. This will help you to help you to do the Excel workbook to function faster and as well as keep the file smaller. Okay, hope this video is very helpful to you in technical point of view, how to keep the workbook smaller as well as the functionality faster, and by giving up some restrictions. Okay, giving up some of your flexibility of refreshing the pivot table. Okay, if you like my videos, please subscribe to Alan Sam channel. It's already popped up in the video itself, and God bless you. Okay, bye.